like to call to order the Monday, February 12th, 2018 meeting of the Littleton Planning Commission. We have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Bolt.
Oh, me? I'm here.
I'm alphabetical today. Commissioner Breidenbaugh.
Here.
Commissioner Corbett.
Here.
Commissioner Grimm.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Rudnicki.
Here.
Commissioner Stallman.
Here.
And Commissioner Schwartzbacher. Present.
Oh, has to be one. Okay. Yeah, before you, the agenda, are there any changes, additions? I assume not tonight. Fairly straightforward. Okay, minutes to be approved is next on the agenda. You've all studiously watched the video. Are there any corrections, notations, corrections? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Vote, please. And as usual, we're all in favor. Next item is public comment, and since we have no public tonight, we will pass it up. We have no general business, and rolling right along, we're up to number 6, public hearing. PC Resolution 03-2018, a resolution to amend Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 3, Sub B of the Municipal Code in order to reference the most recent Federal Emergency Management Agency flood insurance study and flood insurance rate map. And I assume the applicant and staff are one and the same tonight, so fire away.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening, Commission. I'm Carolyn Roan, the city's floodplain manager. And so this isn't a very big item, but it is an important item, so just putting that out there. So what we're requesting is a modification to update the floodplain code as required by FEMA, and the code change is to reference the most recent FEMA flood insurance study and flood insurance rate maps for Arapahoe County, which will be effective April 18th. So here's the process. What we talk about and decide tonight, then would, if approved, it would go forward to council on the 20th. And just a little bit of background. The city of Littleton's been in the National Flood Insurance Program since 1978. And as part of that program, participating communities have to update their floodplain regulations periodically as required. And this includes not only revisions to floodplain studies and maps, but other changes to the federal code that require those changes to our code. Urban Drainage and Flood Control District updated a floodplain hazard delineation study, what we call a FAD, including Dutch Creek and Coon Creek in 2008. And there are very small pieces of Dutch Creek and Coon Creek that fall within the city of Littleton limits. FEMA approved that study as a physical map revision, and it again to be effective on April 18th. And they notified us in October that, and this is just standard letters that went out to everybody that was affected, that in order to remain eligible in the National Flood Insurance Program, that we have to adopt within our floodplain regulations the date of that firm and flood insurance study. And here's what some of those modifications look like. As I talked about in the staff report, they're very tiny little pieces that fall in the city limits. The one on the left is Coon Creek. That tiny little piece of the Coon Creek floodplain currently goes into the city limits in the Coventry neighborhood. And the aerial image on the top, it's not the greatest, but the yellow shows where the current floodplain delineation is, and then the blue is where it's going to shrink back to. So it actually, and that image doesn't line up quite right with the aerial photo. It actually looks, from the detailed study, it looks like that house will actually now be out of the floodplain as a result of the modification. And then there's a little piece of Dutch Creek in South Platte Park, again, just barely over the limit in the city limits. Most of Dutch Creek is in Columbine Valley. And again, that little insert shows the little yellow areas are going to come out. The pink area gets added, and the blue area is still in it. But again, most of that area is in Columbine Valley. Only a little sliver is in the city of Littleton. So here's what the proposed code modification would look like. It simply just changes the date from December 20th to April 18th. And our recommendation is to approve the resolution and forward a recommendation of approval to council. And of course, this enables the city to remain eligible in the National Flood Insurance Program, which is very important to make sure that flood insurance is provided to the residents. Any questions on any of that?
Question?
Pretty straightforward.
If you could just explain why the study was done in 2008
Sure.
and it was 2018 by the time it was
Right,
done.
right. That study by Urban Drainage in 2008, they finished theirs, and then there was a number of other studies that were done on other drainages within the metropolitan area, not just Arapahoe County, but a lot of places. And so it took some time for all those studies to get done, and then they took that to FEMA to produce what they call a physical map revision, which is when you modify lots of floodplains at once. So it wasn't just Dutch Creek and Coon Creek that were part of it. It was a lot of other things. And so it just took, there was a gap in time before it even went to FEMA.
I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
Go.
Online. In October of 2016, did the city take action, or, because the letter from FEMA said that because the time has elapsed and there was no response that it's now expired, did the city take action and do the things like the Littleton Independent and the Villager?
Yeah, all that stuff, it was all
Okay, it was all done.
advertised. Yeah, it's just that there was no public appeals that came forward because it really doesn't negatively impact anybody. It hardly impacts anyone in the city. Just as a preface, we will be having a revision coming up probably sometime later in the year that involves a pretty significant revision to Littles Creek. Again, that was part of a bigger physical map revision that involved a lot of drainages in the metro area. And even that one, I don't think any of the residents from Littleton filed appeals, even though some people are negatively impacted by that. But so what happens is they have a 90-day period in which to comment. And if they don't get any technically valid objections, then FEMA will go ahead with the revision.
Okay. And then my second question is just in the staff analysis, the last sentence says, all properties adversely affected by the revisions were notified by letter from UDFCD in the summer of 2016. Wasn't clear if that was in Columbine Valley or Littleton.
Well, technically speaking, like on Dutch Creek, for instance, it wasn't really a negative impact, but the owner of that property is Colorado Water Conservation Board, actually, in South Platte Park, and they actually did get letters.
Okay.
But it was of no consequence to them. And that resident, even though they're not negatively impacted, the resident on Coon Creek, they were notified as well.
They were, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So it was notifications within
Yeah.
the city of Littleton. I just wasn't clear if that was
Yeah.
Columbine or Littleton.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So these
Want me to
flood-
show you where Coon Creek is, Mark? You want me to show you where Coon Creek, you were asking?
That's okay.
Okay.
I assume these are, these flood regulations are staggered. Is that why Littles Creek is going to be later on in June, where this one is, well, we got to do something by April 18th?
Yeah, it was just so happened the way the timing on the physical map revision worked out. They didn't combine them all into one for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. I was actually hoping that the Littles Creek one was going to come in sooner so that we could somehow roll it all together in one process, but that one's taking a while.
So we'll have another short meeting coming up. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Bruce? No. No legal issues? You wish? Okay,
Is that a request?
from this side of the table.
I was sure you did.
None for me, I'm good.
Seeing none, thank you.
Okay.
We'll now open the public hearing, although we have no public tonight, so we will close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion or discussion.
I move to approve PC Resolution 03-2 2018, which forwards a recommendation of approval to City Council, Ordinance 02-2018, amending Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 3B of the Littleton Municipal Code in order to reference the most recent Federal Emergency Management Agency flood insurance study and flood insurance rate map.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Everybody's clicking, so I assume none. So, please vote. And amazingly, we're 7-0 in favor. Wow. Okay. Thank you for the short presentation. Next is comments, reports, although maybe the reports is going to wait till we're in the next room. Do you have any reports here?
Yes, we are going to join to a study session because, as you know, there are lots of long-range planning projects happening right now. So I want to go over those, the schedule for the Bellevue planning process, the Mineral Station planning process, and the downtown design guidelines. The only two quick updates I have for you right now, just a reminder that you do have a joint breakfast with City Council on February 23rd, so agenda to be coming soon on that one. And then the second is that you do have a meeting on your next February meeting, which is the 26th of February. So you have both hearing items as well as a study session. So that's it, unless you have any other questions for me.
Any questions?
Where's the breakfast going to be held?
That's a really good question, and I believe it's at the museum.
Yeah, it said at the museum, so I just wanted to confirm that.
My only other update is that the doors will probably be unlocked by the time the meeting's over, but they are physically open so people can get in. But we're working on that right now.
Yes, I came in at 10 after the doors were closed, and I had to go all the way around to the courtyard and bang on the door to get in. Wow. I thought I had the wrong day. I slept through Monday and woke up Tuesday. So, any commissioner comments? No. Seeing none, we are going to adjourn and convene in about 5 to 10 minutes in the community room. We're going to be talking about the three ongoing big projects. Bellevue Corridor, where we are there, Mineral Station Framework, not a framework plan, just called the framework, and the downtown guidelines and standards.
Yes.
So, and then anything else? Maybe talk a little bit about what we're going to, somebody asked me a little while ago, what we're going to talk about at our breakfast meeting with council, or is that up for grabs? No.
If you have some topics that we would like to pass along to the city manager and the mayor, then that would be certainly welcome.
Okay. So nothing quite yet. All right.
Nothing to react to, if that's what you're asking me
Right.
for an agenda. No, if there's topics that we want to add, we, Planning Commission, want to add, then I can pass that along.
Okay. So, do you have anything pass along? Let's see. Go ahead and start then.
Okay, so because we have a lot of long-range planning projects happening all at the same time, I wanted to give you just a general update for all of them using our Littleton Plans website. This is the website that Planning Commission, the community, City Council, anyone can go to see generally where and what has happened on all of these planning projects. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'm just gonna use that. And we have more on here than just the current three long-range planning projects. So as we are doing, so I might as well walk through all of it. As we are doing updates to the zoning code, information is put on this first tab, Littleton Zoning and Subdivision Code Amendments. I can just show that to you quickly. Might as well show it all. So here, as we have taken on the code amendments, first the proposal is put up there, and then the final outcome. So you can see, for example, a preliminary project plan. That one, at first, what we had done was we had said proposed code update. We send out an update to everyone on that listserv, as well as we have an interested parties listserv in community development. That information gets sent out so people can give us feedback, for a couple of weeks. And then obviously the information is compiled and brought to you in the form of a formal recommendation. So then once that goes through the process, then the final outcome would be what happened, and the actual code language is then put up there for people to see. So just FYI on that. I want to check that out. So the first one here is both the Bellevue Corridor planning project as well as the Mineral Station. So we'll first start with Bellevue Corridor. So as you all know, we recently had a public meeting there. So this first tells you what the project is. Then, as you may or may not know, one of the things that we are trying to do more is to provide updates to the community on the Columbine Square property, because that's been vacant for so long, and then there was recently a fire there. So if you're reading this and you want to know what's going on here, then you can click here, and then that just is a status of what we know where that is in the process, and some information, again, for people to just better know what is going on that property. So that's that link, just as a side note here. Then there is a map showing you generally the area, and then what we've done is providing the context of what is the project overall timeline and trying to break it down into steps. So, as you know, we hired a consultant. We've been starting on the research and the data. We had a community meeting on the 5th of February. So that then would lead you to the information that was provided for that meeting. If you want to check out.
We have over 100 people show
Yeah,
up.
we think probably around 120 people come to the meeting, which was really fantastic. So that was great. The one thing, because it was a lot of information at that open house, so the documentation is all here. It is now the contents of that open house are now posted on Open Littleton, and I'll click on that here. And through this, I can't click on it because I'm not signed into it, but through here you can log in and you can now put in more comments, or if you hadn't provided comments at the community meeting, then we're encouraging everyone to get on to Open Littleton and provide comments that way. And this will be open for public comment through the 27th of this month, so it's about 2.5 weeks total.
The comments that are put out, are they, can other people see the comments, or are they strictly, what's the word, private?
No, that's a really good question, and I honestly do not know the answer to
You can
that.
see the comments.
You can see the comments, yeah.
I went through that. You can see some of the comments now.
Yeah, and then all of that information obviously will be compiled, as well as comments we receive from the open house, so that when the next iteration of this in a draft plan that Planning Commission sees, you will also have all of that documentation.
Will it be in the same format that's being used previously at the mineral station? That kind of just raw data, just?
Yeah, yes, as
Okay.
well as how we're using it, right? It'll be raw data, because we want to, so you can see all of the information, as well as then how we're using the information to influence the creation of the draft plan. So I just wanted to share that with you. So we're in this time frame, January to February. Once we get the comments compiled, we do have a study session. I believe it is the day before the final closing of this, of the Open Littleton, to present it to Planning Commission, and we'll give you the comments that we've heard at that point. But obviously, you know, if there's anything else for that last day, we'll make sure to get that into your hands as well. From there, March, April, then we'll be taking the draft plan, your input, comments from the community, study session with you and Planning Commission, or excuse me, City Council, another neighborhood public meeting, and another Open Littleton ability for people to make comments, and that will be on the actual draft document. And then from there, May timeframe is when we have it tentatively scheduled to come before you formally. Obviously, you all make a recommendation, it goes on to council for them to make the final decision. So that's generally the timeline we have there. And we've tried to put everything that we've had relative to a discussion with you guys on this. So if you recall, in May, we did do a general presentation on the idea of corridor plan. So we have a link to that so people can see that as well. So I just wanted to share that. So
And this plan becomes a binding neighborhood plan as part of the
It becomes a
comprehensive plan?
corridor plan. So we have existing residential neighborhood plans in the area. It doesn't replace those. It becomes a corridor plan to really focus around this area and the commercial properties.
And it is binding.
Binding in the
Once
sense
adopted
that it's
by-
adopted.
Yes.
Yeah. So binding, meaning it's still advisory document, but it would have some direction in there. So with future development and redevelopment, especially along the commercial properties, we would take some direction from this to help with that. Or the other piece that is one of the big conversations coming up from the community is, are there places where along the roadways or sidewalk, you know, where we need more pedestrian enhancements? So if it's like we need to add additional crosswalks or whatnot, or improve the sidewalk or add a better sidewalk, I mean, those would be elements that probably would be more of a work plan item for the city, you know, however we would manage that. So that's the other piece that is probably an outcome of this, based on the community input of making sure it's safe, right, and that we have good pedestrian and bicycle connections in the corridor. So does that seem really good?
Any other questions about Bellevue?
It's moving faster than I thought, which is great.
Yes, yes.
Right?
That's why I wanted to share all these timelines, because they're sort of all in the same first quarter, second quarter of this year. So that's that one.
Do you feel like the consultant is doing a good job?
I
Have you seen
believe-
any
Yes, yep. I think we are getting some great feedback. You know, the part of the piece here, the timeframe October to December, we did have a neighborhood meeting in October, which was announced through Nextdoor, and that gave some good input to craft the vision piece of what was presented to the community here on February 5th, that we're now wanting larger community input around. The other piece was the commercial property owners and business input and stakeholder and technical data gathering. So the consultants, they're the ones that conducted those interviews. We had several interviews with commercial property owners, with adjacent communities. As you know, this area along Bellevue, there's a piece that is in Inglewood. It's very close to Beaumar, so we outreached and they met with the mayor of Beaumar, the city of Inglewood, just on that level to get that input from those communities, as well as regarding traffic and some of those technical data gathering. You know, we made sure Public Works was able to get that information, as well as numbers we could find from CDOT and all of those. So that was what was happening in October and through December, and that was part of the basis of the information that was presented to the community on the 5th. So looking forward to getting this additional community feedback, and then from there we'll be creating the draft plan, which will then come in front of you guys, and you will have both the data from the community as well as the draft plan. So, does that sound good? Mineral Station. That is this one.
It's a really bad heading on there, light rail plans or light rail planning. It says Bellevue Corridor and light rail planning.
Oh, on the category, yes, yes. It
Why
was
would we need-
intending to be a broad category, but certainly if you have input on that, we can,
Not
make
just mineral
tweaks to it.
area station.
So
mineral
I believe that when this was set up, if you recall, although it's changed, originally when we got the direction to move forward to create a mineral station area master plan, it was also, the next piece of that was going to be a downtown station area master plan through the grants that we received from the Federal Transit Administration. And then in December of last year, City Council, based on the community engagement that we had done for mineral, Council gave us the direction that it was premature to create a master plan for mineral because we need to first work out the traffic and the parking issue. And then their next caveat was we would not be moving forward to do a downtown master plan at this time as well. So, but originally, that had been the intent, which is why it said light rail planning, because it was covering both of those. But we could certainly make it more specific to the, because we only now are doing the mineral station framework. So I can do that.
Yeah, just if I were a citizen and saw that, I wouldn't know what that meant.
Great question. Anyone else on that? So then, now on the mineral station area framework, again, this, we have an upcoming open house, as you know, this Thursday, and that's here, at the Carson Nature Center from 6 to 8 p.m. It is an open house format, which means it's on your own time. You can stop by anytime between 6 and 8, and you'll have different stations to go view the draft plan itself. We also plan to send out through social media on Wednesday, which is in 2 days, a blast to remind people. We always try to do that a couple days ahead of time to remind people of an upcoming public meeting. This time we will be also offering that the Open Littleton will be up on Friday of this week, so that if you're not able to come to the open house meeting itself on Thursday, we want to make sure that people do know that they'll still have an opportunity to comment.
Back up 1 second.
Sure.
The original Bellevue open house was fairly lightly attended, maybe 15, 18 people tops. this was over 100. What was the difference? Did you get more information out about the meeting, using more?
Yes. So remember that when we had done that first meeting in October, it was offered and advertised as a neighborhood meeting. We were aiming to outreach to the residential neighborhoods through Nextdoor about having them come and share their vision of what they wanted their neighborhood to be. So we took that information, it was intended more of a smaller neighborhood to create a draft vision, but we want now the entire Littleton community to be able to participate and comment on the draft plan. So now at the second meeting, now it's for everyone to be able to comment on that draft vision and does it make sense for people or not?
Same thing for the mineral then?
This is open house,
Open house for
community
everyone?
wide. Yes.
Community.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll use the same outreach tools to let the community know that there's a meeting happening on Thursday. And again, trying to keep it all within similar context of like there's a step 1, 2, 3, it just depends on what the project is, but really trying to keep that out there for people to see that, you know, what happened, this mineral station project, as you know, has more of a convoluted background in that it started in 2013. So here again, we are putting all that information out there so that people can understand if you've just moved to Littleton and you want to know what's going on, we're trying to provide you that context, as well as if you've been here for many years and you just want to better understand why did this start in 2013 and why are we still talking about it. This is giving, you can click on a variety of these things to better understand some of that detail. So like I said,
There's a quick date thing there. It says that they held a study session in December of 2018.
oh, that is, thank you, that's a typo, you're right, or we're really good predicting into the future. So, thank you. It was 2012, you're right. Oh, excuse me, 2017, what am I doing? So if you wanted to look at it, we've tried to link that to you so that then you can see where it is in the agenda and you can click on that and actually, again, just trying to give people all the information. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but just trying to put it all there so that anyone at any point can get themselves up to speed on where we're at on these long-range planning projects.
We've been editing this left and right last few weeks and month. How much of this is going to be presented this Thursday?
Yes, so here, let me just use this to help us walk through that. So the time frame in January, what did we do? So we created a draft plan, right? We held a study session with you on January 8th. From there, we took your information and created a draft. And it's not on here. Shoot.
That link isn't working.
So, yeah, what is supposed to be up here, and I'm sorry, I will fix that tomorrow. So we will have links to that draft that you reviewed, because they all have different dates, right? There was a January, can't remember exactly what your date was, but then we had a January 12th that was presented and talked to City Council about. So taking all of that last draft, plus the comments that we received from City Council after that joint meeting, we will now be creating a new draft. It has a date of, I believe it's tomorrow, and that is the document that will be presented and handed out at this public meeting, as well as posted online by Friday. I do anticipate that I will be sending it out to you all prior to Thursday's meeting.
So this will be the latest draft,
Yep.
and that's available to the public as well as us.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And I apologize, that was the intention that we had those other drafts listed here, so I will make sure. I think this is the draft you got on.
So the public has a chance to review it 1.5 days or so, 2 days before Thursday.
The latest draft will not be posted here until the meeting on Thursday.
Okay. Now you're going to have stations, I assume.
Yes, if you want to talk about the actual open house For Thursday, yes. It will be a similar format to the Bellevue planning meeting, or excuse me, the community meeting that we just had on the 5th, where it's an open house format. In this case, it will be different, slightly different in that you will receive the draft plan, and then each station is generally a chapter in the plan so that you can walk around, ask questions, see the information. You'll be able to leave written comments there, or similarly to Bellevue, we will have that posted on Open Littleton by Friday, so if you want to take all the documents with you and make comment on Open Littleton, then you're able to do that as well.
So it'll mirror the index, like you'll have a station on land use, character design, transportation, recreation, open space.
Yeah, at each of those stations, answering questions.
It will be community development and public works staff.
I mean, to me, the tool looks really comprehensive. I think it's a very good tool to allow everybody to be on the same page and share the same information and sort of a flow concept. I would sort of go back on our framework has a large contingency with regard to that PEL document / process. So is it your intention to have that just inside the framework itself, or does it merit a step in terms of the whole process, and is it going to constitute a station at the open house?
It will constitute a station at the open house, and it will be public works that will be at that to answer questions, because they would be the department, once we move this PEL forward, that obviously would be involved in that directly, and they'll be able to answer more of the details around.
Going to get up here, in terms of your Littleton plans framework?
But that project in and of itself?
Given the magnitude of it, yes. I mean, I know it's part and parcel of the mineral area station plan, but it seems like it's outside of the scope we normally would deal with in a planning project for the community, because we haven't really engaged.
Yes.
At that
Once that piece actually gets underway, there will be, whether it's through Littleton plans or on the city's website, I'm not sure where, there will be some portal that would house all of that information and what that structure would look like. So the intention behind it in this plan is just to outline it, say that is a piece that has to happen, right, in that this framework can serve as, some baseline data and information and direction that we will hand to the PEL once that project gets underway.
Okay. All right, thanks.
So then from there, so like I said, then we've got the community open house to review the draft. Thursday, it'll be posted on Open Littleton. We will create a document, and then it will come forward before Planning Commission and City Council. Right now, that's tentatively scheduled in March for you guys to review formally and make a decision. So that's the timeline for that one.
When we issue the latest draft, will it have the executive summary that I'm really waiting to see?
It will, yes. Still all in draft format, so, we'll still be taking comments. And to that point, when I send it out to the Planning Commission, if you have additional comments, please, that would be appropriate. If you want to just submit them to me, that would be great. Or if you want to come to the open house, or if you want to post them on Open Littleton, however we want to work through that, it's fine.
I agree with Bruce that it all looks really good and the content is there. But who checks the links and stuff? Because like that community open house link is...
Yeah, so this is my fault. Denise Cerny and I managed this, and what we realized right before this meeting is that we hadn't updated this page to take off the word plan. So we were frantically trying to take that word off, then the door was locked, and so she has to go back and check. But that's why. It was like, oh my gosh, we can't show this with plan on there. We have to take that off. So So that's, sorry, we're a bit behind, but tomorrow.
Owns that and tracks it.
Yes,
so
yes,
that's,
we do, so yes, check links,
Do
writing it
you,
down.
do you track the number of users and number of hits that you get on this, and how many people have signed up for updates?
Yes, good question.
very good.
We can track the number of people that look at these pages. We do have that ability. We do track that. I suppose in time we'll have more ability to compare it, but right now we don't really have anything to compare it to, you know what I mean? So we'll kind of keep that stats, and then we can just, you know what I mean, in the future we can look back and say, oh, only 100 people look at Bellevue versus, 600 are looking at whatever we're working on at that moment in time, and then we can maybe work through, was it better outreach, or, you know what I mean, what's the difference, right? But it doesn't track who or where you're coming from for that. And the listserv that we have through this, I think there's about 50 people on that now. Certainly we hope, you know what I mean, to get more. And then we have another interested parties list that we're just kind of keeping. So when we have code updates or anything else, we try to send it both through Littleton Plans and then that other list. The other list generally has more agencies than individuals. This, we try to recommend that everyone go to this thing to sign up for the updates. But hopefully we'll continue to get more people, right? So it is a good tool. Anything else on that one, or moving on?
One last time, the next draft of this comes out when? You said Friday, Thursday, Wednesday?
So I hope internally we have a draft for me to look at tomorrow. And then I hope to get it out to Planning Commission and City Council Wednesday, or if not Thursday. The public meeting is when it will be out generally to the community in paper at that meeting, but it also will be available on Friday in an online fashion. So through Open Littleton, you'll both get the copy of the draft plan and then the questions, which will be similar to the open house on Thursday.
So you'll have copies, 30 pages, copies ready for anybody that comes on Thursday. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Sound good? Anything else on that one? And let's see. Right, look, we have hardly any words on Bellevue Corridor, and then this next one is a lot. So this one has both, just more of an FYI. So as you guys recall, Loughton Heights Design Guidelines, right, that came before you guys earlier in May of 2017 for formal adoption. We still have all the information on this page, should anyone be interested in how and when we started that project through to the final guidelines. The other thing that we're working on, and this will come to you in the future, but we did get a grant in 2014, I believe, to undertake a survey of the mid-modern century buildings along Littleton Boulevard. So we hired a consultant firm to do that, and they're getting close to finishing that survey. So in the future, you will see that. It will be a presentation to the Planning Commission, just as an FYI, probably sometime in April, May timeframe. You guys have a lot on your agenda, so we'll try to figure out how to fit that in. So
there was a presentation, I think you were correct, a presentation at the library for the MidCentury Buildings along Littleton Boulevard. It was quite interesting. And quite a few people showed up. I've had 40, 50 people show up. And lots of slides, lots of discussion. It was an eye-opener.
Here's that there, just an update on that particular thing. We did have some meetings back in May of last year where there was a presentation to the property owners. So it's, again, these are all the info if you want to peruse that. It's all on here. So we're still working on that one. yet. We'll be getting that information up here once we have the draft survey results that the consultants are working on.
All the buildings up and down.
Yes, eventually we'll have all of them up there, yes. Yep. And this one. So the other, I'm calling it long-range planning project that's in process, is an update to the downtown design standards and guidelines. So just to give you that information. So this was council direction as well as the Bellevue plan to take on this project, and we were calling it a phase one. And the direction from council was we need to update and review that document. And really for this first phase, as you remember, or maybe not, but in that document there are objectives, standards, and guidelines. And so council's direction was, let's just turn all of the guidelines into standards. So we have a technical team that we are working with on that. And so that's what we're doing. The document is like 380 pages, and there's sub-areas 1 through 8, basically in the football, if you will, of downtown. So it covers that entire area. And so we're trying to simplify this thing down to make it more user-friendly, readable, as well as clear direction of what we're saying to developers when they come in to develop a new building or an addition. What are the standards we want you to meet? It's really kind of hard to read through it right now. So this task, we have a citizen group that includes 2 people from Historic Preservation Board. It includes Mark and John from Planning Commission on that technical team. And the consultants we've hired, Bryant Flake Architecture and Design, they're helping us lead us through that project. And right now it's going through all of those chapters and trying to reformat this thing into a more usable document. It turns out sub-areas 1 through 8, we repeated the same elements within each of those sub-areas. So that's how we got to this volume as 300 pages. So just by shrinking it down to, and it would repeat the same thing over and over in each sub-area. So we're shrinking it down to what are the things that apply across the board regardless of what sub-area you're in, and then what are the ones that are specifically just for like sub-area 1 or just for sub-area 4. So we're working on that right now. So that lists this right here. This is sort of step 1. This is step 1. We should be done with that. I think it's like end of March. Then in this time frame, February, April, we'll be doing a community meeting on this draft to get input from the community. Study sessions with Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Board, as well as with City Council. And then the May to June timeframe would be to finalize that and bring it forward for formal consideration. And as you guys know, for design guidelines in Littleton, the code does say that Planning Commission, you all adopt those. Similarly to Loudon. So that's the structure that we have for that. Any questions about that? So you have a few things going on.
That's a lot.
But just editorial comment, I'm very, very encouraged by the progress we're making on the long-range plans. This is refreshing. 3 years ago, we were complaining about meeting every third or fourth time. Half meetings were canceled. We'd start working on something, would die, and never reappear. So now we're making progress. Sounds like we're going to get some things adopted. So I'm also pleasantly surprised by the by the quality of the consultants. Got a good group we're working with.
Yes.
They did on Bellevue open house, they did a really nice job talking to people, very personable, and hopefully that will reoccur this Thursday with the mineral station.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it's nice to be
As you
busy.
remember, the mineral station, that one is a fully staffed process now. So we will be people. Hopefully, I agree. I do hope that we're also friendly and able to and personable. Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. But good direction. I'll pass it on. So, thank you, Mark, appreciate that. Yeah, that is the goal, to actually move projects forward through to final iteration and, for consideration and adoption. So, yep. Yes, so, there we go. Those are the updates I had for you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, here's the 8 sub-areas. Now, I would say one thing that's interesting to me as new to the community, this is more an editorial comment, I was surprised to see that we have property that continues on up here. Here's here's Prince, here's Santa Fe. You know what I mean? It actually goes up to a point here. Here's Bellevue. And none of these properties are within any sub-area in the downtown portion.
The apartments weren't built back when these sub-areas were set up, right?
Well, it was in 2006. So that's a future thing that I would like to make sure we bring forward, because certainly we have a lot of properties in this area of the downtown
Sort of, I mean, the
diamond or whatever you want to call that.
zoning's industrial though, isn't it? I mean, I know they rezoned the apartments, but the ones off of Rio Grande are all industrial parcels.
Yes, but certainly people can come in and request a rezoning or build something on it, and if we wanted to have any design, you know what I mean, direction for them, we might want to consider.
Why wouldn't you just extend the same guidelines?
Yeah, so anyway, it's just a point I wanted to.
Well, that's saying it stops right after Alamo. It doesn't go all the way down to ACC.
It does at ACC.
8, okay.
Yeah.
You were blocking.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, yeah.
That goes to the church.
Details. Anyway, that's just an interesting observation.
I think one reason why why it's 300 pages long, both 3-ring binder, was what we were trying to do way back when was, if you went to Area 4, you get everything you wanted just by reading Area 4. So the trick now is to, if we're combining it all, that a developer or a property owner or citizen wants to go in a certain area, it's got to be easily seen what generally is good for all 8 areas, and then we have specifics for each of the sub-areas. It has to be easily read. But that's the reason why it was so big before, because you could go to one section and get everything you need. Now you have to kind of, a little bit of hunting and pecking. You have to be careful we don't overdo it, hunting and pecking.
Agree, and the awesome thing with this project is that we have guidelines. They've been in place for 10 years, right? So we have the ability of what's been working and what seems to still be a struggle. So it's to tweak that as well as to make the guidelines, the current guidelines, into standards, right? So it's not that we're creating something new and we're not really sure. So the great news is we have them existing, right? And we have good input on how it's working, and this seems to be the best way to make it more usable for everyone.
The way it's coming out is some of the guidelines are dropping out and they're not converted into standards. It's going to look quite a bit different, and it's tracking to be under 100 pages.
It's manageable. The font is size 6.
Good luck.
Yeah, trying to make it simplified, right? Because right now it's like sub-area 3, and then you got to go standard 537.21, 543. I mean, so, that it was a great first stab at it, but how can we make it a more usable document so anyone can pick it up and understand exactly what the requirements are?
Also, with we have a lot of photos that are of projects not even in Littleton now. I think it's going to be all Littleton photos.
Correct.
And less of them. We got photo happy back then.
Yes.
Some of the doodle sketches are worthless. Can be consolidated, so that'll take away some pages.
Yeah, as well as are there different graphics that should be represented, right? The sketches. Some of them seem haphazard. Anyway, that's generally the time frame for that one. Do you have any questions? Any more questions? questions on that?
Backtrack to Laufin. We looked at Laufin, what, a year and a half ago. Why is that still lingering?
Well, we were wanting to respect the process, so we've generally said that we'll keep it up here for a year, and then, we'll put it into the structure. We just wanted people to be able to see if they were curious, how did this get created? Maybe that's too much, but we weren't really sure. We can tweak it as needed, but was our initial thought on why it's still here.
So eventually we move into documents under preservation?
So in addition to here, now that this is adopted, it is on our website under, design guidelines for different areas of the city. So it's there. It's also, as you know, we have an online zoning map now. So if you want to go in and you click on one of the properties that is within this district, it will, when you pull up the plans or the neighborhood, it'll say the neighborhood, and then it will say the design guidelines, so that anyone can know that, if you buy a house on that street and you're not exactly sure what happens next, you can see, oh, here's your design guidelines, should you want to do an addition or whatnot. So trying to put it in several places that people would see it, but it wouldn't be on Littleton plans after a year. You just wouldn't see that history piece.
What else is lingering? Any other new long-range plans coming up?
At the moment, that is what I have for you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay.
It's going to be an exciting 2 or 3 months here coming up.
Yes, very busy, and I'll continue to send you your tentative calendars. There are a couple meetings that are getting really full, so we may have to juggle things around a bit. But my goal would be after, try to do it like after our meetings, that next day send an updated tentative calendar out to you. I have not been doing that very well, so that's my plan. So tomorrow I will send you one, and that hopefully can continue, or it will continue. How's that?
So I guess I got one this morning.
You got one from last week that should have come out the week
Oh.
prior, so we'll send you one tomorrow, and we'll keep on that. You do have to, and maybe I can even note, things are moving around, so you do have to note when you're meeting and on what topic. So, but I'm open always to suggestions if that's too much or too much is changing. I can think of it a different way to get that info to you guys.
With all the dates flying around, it was nice to get that one late last week. I spent this morning updating my planner.
And tomorrow there might be
Uh-oh.
a few things to do. Because one of the things
Don't
that's
put it
going to
in
drive, one of the things that's going to drive like these type of, study sessions will be the number of cases, right? Because really that sort of takes the precedent. So once you get a hearing case that's tracking for a meeting, and it's, finally finalized that it's going to be on that meeting date, unless there's too many hearing cases, and then it will have to go to the next one. That's going to drive some of the study session conversation. So when we get too many, it's the study session that's going to get moved versus the hearing meetings. So.
Thank you. We are adjourned unless anybody has anything else to say. Seeing none, thank you.
Great, thank you.